On this beautiful summer day, welcome to the next edition of In Larchmont Village. We'd like to take you around and show you some of the ongoing projects that the trustees in the Village of Larchmont are working on and that I'm particularly interested in. So let's go on our little journey. Before I became a village trustee, I was a member of the Larchmont 2020 Task Force. And as I'm sure you're aware, one of the main topics that 2020 covered was open space in the Village of Larchmont and access to the water. As you can see, we're here in Flint Park. We're at the back tennis courts. And if you look around, you can see that we're right at what is now the end of the recreational part of Flint Park. If we walk in here for a minute, we can take a look at where the SSO is going to be built. We're standing here just about on the site of the SSO, which the county is going to begin building this summer. The SSO will take excess water in major storms into a holding tank to treat before it goes down into the sewage treatment plant. And obviously this is all part of an effort to clean up Long Island Sound, and it's a very significant effort. We'll begin building this summer, and when the SSO is completed, there'll also be renovations here at Flint Park. And that's been an ongoing process that a lot of people have been involved in: the Recreation Commission, the Parks and Trees Committee, Flint Park Conservancy, and citizens. And I would like to take this opportunity to encourage citizens to become involved in the process. We don't want, when the whole process is finished, we don't want people to say, I was never a part of it. It's important for everyone to become involved in letting us know what you want Flint Park to look like when it's all finished. Another thing I think that we talked about during the 2020 process was that Flint Park is actually on the water. If we turn slightly to the left, you can see that behind these piles of dirt behind me is a beautiful, beautiful little harbor sound. And one of the things that we've talked about is opening this up so that people could actually enjoy the visual beauty of this area. And with the town of Mamaroneck, making a walking trail that goes all the way from the hummocks conservation area through to Flint Park. It would be a lovely spot for people to walk and have passive recreation. When we were in Flint Park, you really couldn't see the water. So we drove around to the hummocks conservation area behind the Hummocks School, and now you can get a sense, if there were water in this little harbor sound, you would see where we're now at the outside. If you're looking down toward Flint Park, you can go by boat all through this area. We're between Hummocks and Flint Park and Hummocks Road. One of the issues for use of this for small boats like kayaks is that clearly, as you can see, the tides are a problem. There is no water, which must be dead low tide now. I think high tide today is 5 o'clock this afternoon, so that would be an issue. Open space is a major issue for the Village of Larchmont. A lot of people are very concerned and interested in the topic. An open space committee has just been formed, and you all will be hearing a lot more about that in the coming months, so stay tuned. Town Councilwoman Nancy Seligson, whom I've known since my days of David's Island, and who is passionate about the water. She'd rather be on the water than on land, she'll tell you. Let's go with her, and she'll show you the water side of Flint Park and talk about some related issues.
I'm really excited to talk about some of the passive recreation and nature opportunities we have in Larchmont and Mamaroneck. And one of the great opportunities that we have that we haven't really tapped into yet is that Flint Park, the park that we all play in and play tennis in, play soccer, play baseball, football, paddle tennis. in is actually on the waterfront. It is a waterfront park. However, the side that's on the water is overgrown with a marsh-type plant called Phragmites, and it is blocked from the water with the Phragmites. But we could build a path that would connect from the field somewhere down and walk to the water so that people could see that the park is on the water and that we're connected to Long Island Sound, which I think would be a great opportunity. It also is an incredibly beautiful spot because it backs onto the Hommocks Conservation Area, which is a marsh area with Spartina grass, nesting birds, all kinds of juvenile fish, and it's a real area of natural wonder and growth that too few people get to enjoy and see. And we're really lucky because we're on a small motorboat at high tide going into the area. That is the marsh, and we're going to show you the side of the park from the water and what it looks like from the water. This whole expanse on the left side of our boat is Flint Park. It's the side of Flint Park that's on the water. And then it actually connects to something called the Hommocks Conservation Area in the town of Mamaroneck, which is actually behind the Hommocks School and off of Hommocks Road. And this is designated a critical environmental area. And because the two areas are connected and they're an intermunicipal connection, it would be a really interesting effort to work together to try and provide better access, whether it's just visual access and walking by, or passive recreation and bird watching, or even providing some kind of small boat launch, car-top boat launch in this area. And it's a wonderful resource that we have here that connects both our municipalities. I'm working with the Greenway right now, the New York State Greenway, and 5 municipalities in our area to work together to upgrade our trail systems, link our trail systems, and provide signs for all our trails. Because among the City of New Rochelle, Town of Mamaroneck, Village of Mamaroneck, Town of Eastchester, and Scarsdale, we think that we could create almost a 20-mile loop of trails that already exist, but they are not properly linked together yet. There's some gaps in the trails, and because the maintenance levels are different and the signage is not great, it's hard for people to know that they're really in that area, on a trail, on an established trail. So we've contacted the Greenway, a New York State agency, to come help us with some technical information, and they will provide technical assistance to us, and we have the opportunity to apply for funding. And they're very, very interested in funding us because they're interested in promoting intermunicipal agreements and cooperation. And it is a great project. But one of the things that the Village of Larchmont could do would be to participate in the Greenway, join the Greenway, which simply is supporting five objectives and areas of the Greenway with a resolution, and then trying to create a proposal that would allow us to open up Flint Park from the water side so that people, well, actually from the park side, but so that people could see the water side of Flint Park. And there would be generous funding available for that from the Greenway, and the Village of Larchmont would have to match that grant 50-50. So it's one of the opportunities that are possible in joining the Greenway. And it's something that I recently just thought of for the village, that it would be an appropriate source of funding for a path along Flint Park. And I know that through the 2020 task force, that one of the main comments that people heard from the public was that they wanted to have more waterfront access. And this could start out as some visual access to the waterfront, but it would also be very easy to put a small launching area where a car-top type kayak or canoe could be launched. And this would be a perfect protected area to do that in. And it would really provide that needed access to Long Island Sound. We're so fortunate to live in Larchmont and Mamaroneck, where we have this beautiful community on this very special national estuary, an estuary of national significance and importance. And not enough people really have access to it. So this would be one way to provide that.
Some time has elapsed since you went on that beautiful trip on the water, and we're back here on Flint Park on a beautiful summer day. And now that you've seen that magnificent sight on the water, wouldn't it be wonderful if Larchmont residents could have an opportunity either to see that from Flint Park or to have access to the water so that they could be out there. So, Nancy Seligson has been kind enough to take several people out visiting the sites from the other side of Flint Park, and it is amazing. People are just astounded. They never realized what a magnificent resource we had right at our fingertips. In addition, there has been submitted a Flint Park a grant for upgrading of Flint Park. That's a grant that we have resubmitted to New York State. It calls for a playing field improvement, new playing fields at Flint Park, and it also includes a provision for access to the water. It remains to be seen whether we actually get that grant, but it would also, we will work in any way we can, because Flint Park is really the jewel in the crown of the Larchmont Park system. And as you probably, and we discussed the last time, there are lots of people working very hard on Flint Park. And I would again like to take the opportunity, because plans are moving along, to encourage residents to get involved. There's a committee that meets on the fourth Thursday of every month. They meet in the village center behind the library. And I really encourage people who have ideas about what they would like to see happen in Flint Park to join that group so that all the voices of people in the community could be heard on that subject. The other thing I'd like to just take a moment to talk about is Nancy Seligson discussed with you the plans for the Greenway. We met last week with two representatives from New York State who came down to talk about the Greenway system. We live in the southern part of Westchester County. It is a very urban area, and it's extremely important that people have access to whatever public lands or lands that we can provide for recreational opportunities. People who walk, people who run, people who are birders could use that system that the Greenway would set up, because the land is all there, the trails are all there. It's a question of marking them, blazing them, so that people know where they are, so they aren't concerned about using them, so that you won't get lost on the trails. And I think it's a wonderful concept, and something that I believe that Larchmont should join in and participate in. I'd also like to take one more opportunity to remind people that the moment of truth is at hand for David's Island. There is a bill on the governor's desk. We have all written letters to the governor urging him to sign the bill that would allow David's Island to be sold to the county of Westchester, hopefully for a magnificent park. Once again, the northern part of Westchester County, land acquisition has gone on in the northern part of the county. Some people tell me that relatively few people visit those parks, but David's Island is in the middle of our greatest population center in Westchester County, and it is extremely important that we not lose the opportunity to buy David's Island, and particularly to take it out of the development stream. So if you care about that, I urge you to contact the governor, contact Andy Spano, contact George Latimer. Let them all know how deeply you care about David's Island and the fact that you really, really want it to be acquired by the county for development as a park. As you can see, we're sitting in front of one of Larchmont's many outdoor eating establishments, and I want to talk a little bit about the streetscape. We're also sitting in front of the future home of CVS, our former Grand Union. That project is being negotiated between CVS and members of the Board of Trustees and Ann McAndrews. And there are issues about the parking lot, and they'll go before the zoning board with regard to the parking lot and the ARB to talk about the facade of the building. And obviously everyone is working very hard to say if CVS is going to come to our community, it should be the best looking CVS possible, and trying to ensure that everyone will be as happy as it's possible. We're also very fortunate in that in dealing with the streetscape for this Chatsworth block from the Boston Post Road to Addison Street, we have been fortunate to receive a grant from Nita Lowy. You know, nothing happens just all at once. Everything is a continuum. And Cheryl Louie worked very closely with Nita, and we were very fortunate that that board was able to obtain from her that $100,000 grant, which will help us to improve the streetscape on this block. After many, many, many hours of negotiations and discussion and meetings with our consultants, Chevalier Munz, and talking again with the Beautification Committee, with the chairman of ARB, Diane Neff, and the chairman of the Planning Board, Surette Dim Grant, we are narrowing in on the choices for this block. And the choices that are before us are obviously the concrete, what kind of sidewalks we're going to have, the curbing, which is in very bad condition, and you may actually see sitting out here on this block in the next month or two some samples of curbing and color of concrete that we're going to try to be assessing what actually would look the best. We are very, very close to what we want, but we'd like to see it out in daylight. We've looked at samples, and obviously that doesn't always give you a totally accurate picture. In addition, we are looking and have probably decided on lamp posts and the actual fixture that will hang from the lamp post, but we are again turning to our consultant to give us a better idea of exactly what type of lighting will be create the best effect. There have been some talks about making a softer light, not actually. We obviously want to be very careful that we don't shine into the apartments of any of the people who live on this street. So the lighting will take some technical expertise so that we get what's the best look for the village. So there's been some discussion about uplighting of some of our beautiful trees and maybe lighting the beautiful little park that is next to the post office. Also some more lighting at the corners because that's a little bit dark. The other issues that we're dealing with obviously are street trees. That's very, very, very significant. Obviously trees are a very important part of the quality of life in Larchmont. We are again turning to our consultants primarily to tell us what are the trees that do best in an urban streetscape environment, what trees will do best with the way the Asplund people come in and hack them away to keep the Con Ed wires free from any damage. Street trees are very significant. Flower pots are very significant. Tree wells, what treatment will we use around the trees? I think we finally come to the conclusion that there are different trees requiring different treatments. The larger trees, obviously any kind of sort of brick or Belgian block or stone that you put around a big tree will be lifted up by the roots. So we're thinking that the tree wells will have a different look. I'd also like to say that we are going to start that project as soon as we're able to, and also looking at the Post Road block and the Palmer Avenue block, particularly the Lusardi's block. We're looking outside the village wherever grant money is available to help us in that project. And obviously, as we progress, we'll keep the village residents informed exactly what's going on, and we'd like to hear from you as well. I wonder if you know where you are. We're sitting in a little park that's adjacent to the Grand Union/CVS parking lot. A park that I wonder how many people even know is here, but it's a lovely, cool spot with beautiful trees. And I think you'll find over the next few months that Parks and Trees and Beautification will be talking about how to improve this park and make it more useful or user-friendly, perhaps. It's interesting, when I came to Larchmont, every fall there was a huge outdoor art show. You could come and buy local artists' work right here at this event. It was really quite lovely. I'd like to take just a moment to talk about the moratorium and the noise law, which has just been enacted by the Board of Trustees. I'd like to just say that I think that it isn't really a moratorium in the sense that we have just really passed legislation, a local law that will say that people can't have variances from their as of right. You can do whatever you could have done prior to this, but with regard to setbacks in the front, back, and the 2 side yards, for 6 months there won't be any variances granted from those regulations in the zoning code. And at the same time, the Board of Trustees is going to hire a consultant to help us look at zoning issues. And I really believe that part of that RFP, request for proposal, the first focus may very well be to deal with this issue, because we have promised the community that we will try within the 6-month period to come to some closure on that issue. With regard to the noise ordinance that was just enacted, I believe, as I said at a village board meeting recently, we're not passing a noise ordinance because it isn't an issue. The only reason to pass some of these ordinances is because some of the contractors and some people in the community, again, are not taking the wishes of their neighbors or thinking about the quiet of the community and putting their neighbors' wishes first. So we've had to take a look at that and say, okay, there are certain hours during which contractors and heavy equipment can be used. Contractors can work, heavy equipment can be used out of doors, and those hours obviously are now 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 6 p.m. on Saturday, and 10 to 5 on Sunday. And people can use their power tools inside at other hours, but during the hours not specified, no outdoor heavy equipment can be used. And I think it's very important to remember that, because one of the beauties, again, of not living in the city and living in the suburbs is that you try to get a little bit of the peace and quiet that's so important to all of us. So again, if you're thoughtful of your neighbors, this will not become as much of an issue. I must admit that I favored even perhaps more stringent regulations to try to find one day on a weekend that could be quiet without contractors working outside, differentiating between the contractor and the homeowner who mows his own lawn, or to say that there are 3 holiday weekends, Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend, and the 4th of July, when perhaps this should be revisited, this issue. We wanted to have a law in the books because a lot of heavy construction work is going to begin, both at the train station and with regard to the SSO in Flint Park. So we wanted a law to be on the books that regulated the hours of those heavy constructions. But we might revisit this issue, and I would be more than happy to hear from some of you to find out exactly what it is that you'd like us to do, because obviously the Board of Trustees reflects the wishes of the people in the community. Lastly, I'd like to say that it's been a pleasure talking to you. We hope to be seeing you again, and I hope in some of our future programs to meet with and speak with trustees from the Village of Mamaroneck and from the Town of Mamaroneck, and share with them and with you the issues that are common to all of us. Thanks and good night.